just before, I guess we could just have a quick little section on 3 teams here. The Bucks, they obviously choose not to bring in Bogdanovich in the end. They bring in Bobby Portis as well as DJ Augustin to help fill out that team a bit. Do you think that just kind of leaves them in the same position as last year, and Giannis ends up leaving now? Do you think that drama just kind of pushed him out the door? Is it over for him in Milwaukee?
I think it puts Toronto in a great spot, especially as they just signed Van Fleet for cheap. I think DJ Augustin has played formidable in the role he's been in over in Orlando, but he's not a needle mover. He's not something to really write home about whenever it comes to having someone to try to keep Giannis there. The fact that they traded away someone like George Hill, I know that they brought in Holiday to replace Bledsoe. They have not replaced Hill. I think that's going to hurt their team in the end. Just that veteran presence that shoots at such a high 3-point percentage. He actually had one of the best 3-point years out of anyone in the league last year.
I think Augustine is kind of in that same category. Obviously, it's not a move again that keeps Giannis there. It's more so just where
an upgrade
finish this year in terms of that affecting him staying. Do you think it even puts them in a position to go farther than last year, or do you literally think they just stagnated their team and it's really just going to frustrate him and he's going to end up leaving next year?
Yeah, I think he's probably going to get frustrated, especially if Holiday gets hurt. If Holiday gets hurt and just really okay, of course Middleton's there. Middleton's still arguably an all-star, but if there's nobody on that perimeter to guard everyone and Giannis is sitting there, I know he's great on defense, and that's fantastic why he's there, but he doesn't want to have to be that defensive last line of defense on every single point guard drive. He needs that great defender in front of him. That's why Bledsoe and Hill were so good for him. So I think that if someone like Holiday gets hurt, if Middleton gets hurt, then that team they are going to be a playoff team, of course, but they might not be the number 1 seed. And if that's the case, then why would Giannis stay there if that's all they can be? They're paying Holiday for the next 3 years. He's already an older player. He's not getting any better than what he is. Middleton is starting to top out. I know Giannis could go to another level if he develops a 3-point shot, but overall, that team doesn't move the needle for him. I think he'd way rather go to a team like Toronto that has Siakam, Van Fleet, Powell, OG already in place, and that way he can go there and just be a part of a 67, 65 win team and have those proven playoff contenders, or even a team like Miami that's got Butler, Hero, all their young players already put in place there as well. Bam. I think that he'd way rather go to one of those teams where that he doesn't need to be the guy for them to win 50 games. But because he's that guy, they're going to win 65.
Yeah, and I mean, I think honestly, I think the Bucks are going to be the most disappointing team this year. I think a lot of people are still going to be very high on them going into the year, assuming they're going to finish in the 1 to 3 spot. I don't know how the playoffs will look for them, but I think at the end of the regular season, I don't think they're going to be higher than the 4 seed. I think between Boston, Toronto, Indiana, and then I don't know why there's
Philly?
Pardon?
Philly,
but there's also another team who I was going to say is better as well, and I can't even think of for some reason. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's 4 or 5 teams in the East who I think are better than Milwaukee, and I think, like you said, if one injury does happen, then that puts them in such a precarious position where they don't really have
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn again. I even think there's another team too, and I don't know. So we go Toronto, Indiana, Boston. And then you have
Miami, Brooklyn, Philly.
The team I was forgetting. So, I mean, that could easily put the Milwaukee somewhere between the 5 to 7 seed. And
That's embarrassing.
Exactly. And especially after the year they just had and how high the hopes are, I really think it's going to be a low regular season playoff finish for them in terms of them, again, being between that 5 to 7 seed. I think everyone's going to obviously be a bit upset about that. Maybe they squeak in a first round win. but I don't think they make it past the second round. I do think the Bucks are going to be the most disappointing team this year. And like we're saying, I think Giannis probably ends up leaving. At this point, you know what? He's probably going to end up going to the Lakers. Obviously, joking about that, but I mean, who even knows?
Hey, you never know. LeBron goes for minimum,
That's
Brings in Giannis.
That's what I mean. His brother already went there. Maybe that's what they were doing. They were piecing something.
Yeah, I don't. That's
But
not happening.
aside, I really do think the Bucks are going to be the most disappointing team this year.
Which is sad or disappointing to say because they've been such a hot commodity the last couple of years. A lot of winning a championship would do great for that small market of Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have great basketball fans there. I think they'd be able to stretch their brand even more. If they lose Giannis, unless they can pull something off like New Orleans did with Anthony Davis, and they're able to bring in that Zion. I'm not saying that Zion is. I know that Zion was drafted, but if they're able to bring in that star player, but be able to keep these amazing role players around them, like when New Orleans being able to keep at the time Holiday, getting Brandon Ingram, getting Lonzo Ball, even though we're not that huge on Lonzo Ball, getting Josh Hart, they were able to get such a big haul for losing that star player that whenever they were drafted that next player that was Zion, now they're a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
But Milwaukee, unless they're able to give up on Giannis and trade him away, if they fail this year, then he doesn't re-sign. It's going to crush their market. It's going to crush Milwaukee basketball. They're going to bounce back on their feet because they have been a pretty good organization over the last 20 years. But for that being said, they haven't been that top tier organization in a long time, and they're it right now. They've been the number one seed for the last 2 years. They are that top team right now. But if they lose Giannis, they lose that opportunity to really get that small market to a bigger market where they were working towards. So it's just really disappointing to see for that organization.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess on that note, before we end this, do you agree that there might be, like I said, the most disappointing team, or do you think at least for this year they'll still kind of get between that 1 and 4 seed, and they'll probably make the second round, maybe make it to the conference finals? Are you more positive or more negative towards the Bucks at this point?
Well, I don't think they'll be as good as last year.
Exactly.
But I don't think they drop anything more than top 3. I still think they're going to be probably the number 1 seed, maybe the number 2 seed. If all their players are healthy, Giannis is the best player in this league. They're going to win a lot of games. They're going to be up there, I think. But I think there could be a failure that happens at some point. And if any kind of failure that's not 1 or 2 seed, and then going at least to the finals, that's going to be something that's going to show him that Milwaukee's not where he's going to go to win the championship, not where he's going to go to be that top team for the next 10 years. I think that's what he wants. Anthony Davis went to the Lakers. He was going to be a top team for the next 5 years. Milwaukee, they're not trending in that direction. So anything worse than their last year, which they were the top team in the whole league, anything worse than that, then I think you leave 100%. But I don't think that I don't think they're going to drop down past 4 and 3 just based on the skill level that he brings as long as he's healthy.
Yeah, I probably, as long as they're healthy, I would be surprised if they're a top 3, but I think at some point one of them is going to go down for at least 20 to 30 games, not going to make them deep enough. And I do think they're going to drop, like I said, probably closer to the 5 and 6, but at the end of the day, it could even be the 7.
And that's why I think that if a team like the Raptors is able to stay as a top 2 team like they've been the last 4 years, I think that they're really going to show someone like Giannis that we're that top team no matter what, no matter who we lose, no matter who we bring in. Especially with a year like last year where they actually only ended up 3 games behind Milwaukee, but they had again the most games lost by their starters from any team in the league. They showed that they can persevere through those injuries. Like you're saying, if they have an injury point, Middleton misses 20, 30 games, and they actually drop down to that 5th or 6th seed, that just goes to show that they're not that deep of a team, and that team is not built for success long term. And hey, I'm a Raptors fan. I'll take him any day.
Definitely.